We're going to be in Ecclesiastes chapter 10. We got through verse 1 last week, but, we'll pick up on verse 2. Solomon has been searching through the world, independent of God's truth, seeking to find meaning and fulfillment. And you guys know the story by now. Life under the sun is empty and frustrating without the Lord. And so being stubborn, he refuses to just stop there because, I still don't want to have anything to do with the Lord. So he comes up with his own Bible, his own philosophy. I was watching this Garth Brooks special the other day, and it's funny, I like Garth, and he was going through all of this stuff, and then he gets to this place where he says, and this is truth, and this is going to be it. And I'm like, there's a guy that's got his own philosophy, and it ain't God's philosophy. And nice reading your own Bible there, right? So that's a hard place to live because it's an inferior place to live. God wants to give you freedom, wants to give you peace, wants to give you joy, all of that stuff. But so many choose life without him because they think they can do it better. So since chapter 7, he's been sharing the truths that he has discovered through his long life. The observations, his life experiences. It's like your grandparent or your old uncle coming alongside and putting his arm around, well, let me tell you what I've discovered about life. And, that's kind of what Solomon's doing here. So he says in chapter 10, verse 2, he says, a wise man's heart is at his right hand, but a fool's heart is at his left. Foolishness leads to an inferior life, a weaker life, a less skilled life. Back in Old Testament times, if you were a lefty, nobody even considered you, But the right hand represented strength and power and ability, it's dexterity and skill and the ability to do all of these things. If you're anything like me, the left hand just comes along with the package, because I would look stupid without a left side. So God decided to add it on. But really, I can do almost nothing with my left side. So the wise man, the right side, the right hand guy, allows himself to be guided by superior things in life, and the fool the left-hand guy allows his heart to be guided by inferior things. Verse 3, even when a fool walks along the way, he lacks wisdom, and he shows everyone that he is a fool. A fool, by simply walking through life, can never keep his true colors secret. That foolishness is always going to come out. The moment he steps outside of his house, the moment he opens his mouth in conversation, the moment he posts something on Facebook, everybody goes, oh, there he is again. Here goes that, here goes the guy that doesn't understand anything. His or her secret just comes out. It's on display, all of his folly, all of his unlearnedness, exactly what he doesn't know. What are you on the inside? It's a good question, right? Who am I? What am I really on the inside? Because it's always going to show up on the outside. You a worrier, a fretter? Are you calm and collected? Are you smart? Are you educated? It's going to come out. Jesus would say, a good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth good. And an evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart brings forth evil, for out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. And with that truth, it's easy to figure out what your spiritual temperature is, what's coming out of your mouth. When you open your mouth and talk to somebody, what is it that comes out of there? Sometimes we catch ourselves, ooh, that wasn't loving, that wasn't kind, that wasn't, and we're like, ooh, need to get that back, and we can kind of see some true colors that are coming out of us. Sometimes it's when we're getting squeezed. Add a little pressure to a Christian, You're squeezing this fruit, and orange juice comes out or whatever it is. sometimes we can catch ourselves and go, Lord, oh Lord, I don't like what's coming out of me. And that's pointing to a different or a deeper cause than just the surface. That's coming out of my heart. There's something evil, something wicked, something going on inside my heart. Lord, would you search me and know me and figure out what's going on in there and help me to get that straightened out. And now in verses 4 through verses 7, he will share how to conduct ourselves in front of foolish leaders. You ever run into a fool in some high position, some high place? None of you guys have ever done that here at church, There's no fool in leadership position around here. Maybe it's the government, maybe it's your boss, wherever. He says in verse 4, if the spirit of the ruler rises against you, do not leave your post, for conciliation pacifies great offenses. I like this. Don't just quit on the spot. Your boss gets in your face, he comes up and he's wrongfully against you. I told you to get this done and it's not done. And, here comes the thing. Don't get upset. Don't storm out. Keep your cool, because eventually that guy's going to cool down. He'll calm down and he'll figure out what's going on really. But, if you quit in a huff, claiming you have the right to do it. Well, that guy was wrong, and he should have never treated me like this, and that should have never happened. Then you go through all of that stuff, I took a stand. I did what was right for me. I have this moral superior position because I did this. Solomon seems to say, if you quit every job when some out-of-line fool boss gets in your face over something, he says, eventually you're going to have no place to work in this world because they're all a bunch of fools. I don't know if you've noticed that or not. There's all of these things out there. So, as Christians, we are never supposed to make decisions in an emotional upheaval. Where our pride's been hurt or our character's been bruised or whatever. As Christians, we are not free to come and go as we will. Especially not if God has placed you in that position. Now, look, I've signed up. I've tried to quit on God, 107 times since I started this little church. I'm like, well, seems like I'm done. I'm ready. Just tell me where to go and I'll go there. But we have been bought as a price. We are not our own. And we're to shine on the lampstand where he placed us. And sometimes that is super uncomfortable. That is not what we want to do. But you got to remember, we are ambassadors for Christ. We are not to serve self any longer. Verse 5 and verse 6, it says, there is an evil I have seen under the sun, as an error proceeding from a ruler. Folly is set in great dignity, while the rich sit in a lowly place. These rich have become that way. The idea behind the rich guy is unlike the American idea of rich people, who it was all just given to them and they've been lucky and whatever. These people are hardworking. They're full of wisdom. They're full of skill. They've been doing that, and therefore they've made something of themselves in this thing. This isn't, the American rich, terrible class system that we love to jump into. No, these guys are the ones that should be leaders. They've proven it through their works and through their wisdom and through their character, but they are not leaders. And instead, there's a bunch of people of folly in the ruling positions. He says in verse 7, I have seen servants on horseback, while princes walk on the ground like servants. I have seen servants on horseback. That's the rightful place of a king, of a leader. While the princes, the guy who should be on the horseback, is walking, the place where the servants are supposed to be. So in this world that Solomon's looking at, those who end up in leadership, in government, in business boss world, in the military upper echelons, often that has nothing to do with their actual ability or merit. Many times the promotion we see in this world is very often foolishness and unfairness and illogical and even idiotic, the people we put in certain positions. So Solomon had witnessed some of this. Absolute fools occupying the highest positions and servants given these leadership roles, while those who have the actual character to do that job and the ability and the life experience, they're being wasted over with some mediocre task, some mid-level thing. And what he's saying is life is unfair. Have you figured that out? Most of you guys are, getting to that stage where you better have that figured out by now, right? This life under the sun, business owners giving their kids the prime position instead of the guy who's worked his way up through the ladder and actually deserves it. Communism, socialism, they all love this. When communism took over in Russia, they went out and they killed all of the people of skill. They just killed them. We can do without this. We can do without these guys who really think they're something. Can you really? Sorry to ruin your night, but we are not all equal. Yes, we're all human. There's only one race. It's the human race. This has nothing to do with that. But some have different abilities than you have. Some have gifts and work ethics and character that other people don't have. You do not want me to be your brain surgeon. Can I just tell you that right up front? You imagine me in there with a little X-Acto knife scalpel thing. It's like, let me get in there. Here we come, You don't want me to be your computer guy. Just ask my wife. One little thing goes wrong with the computer and things are thrown around the house and the stuff is being said, and there can be some ugly stuff when the printer doesn't talk to my computer or whatever it is, Now, I have certain abilities that I can probably do better than you can do. But you have things that you do better than I can do, So this idea that you can put anybody in any position and they will be fine in that position is just a stupid idea, So just because someone occupies a high position in life, it's no indication of their skill or ability necessarily, although there are some people that are amazing people in high places, So verse 8, he who digs a pit will fall into it, and whoever breaks through a wall will be bitten by a serpent. He who quarries stone may be hurt by them, and he who splits wood may be endangered by it. What is it you do for a living? What is it you have going on? Do you understand the dangers that are involved just in your normal, everyday activity? I like that. Solomon's saying we all need to walk into life with a little caution on our side. You can't just, I remember Tyra was telling us how she went in and knocked out this bearing wall in their house one day. She just went in and, I'm tired of this wall, and she just went in and tore it out. You realize you can't do that, Tyra, because the house may just collapse on you. There's room for a little caution sometimes. You ever watch kids around a campfire? And there's the axe. It's stuck over there in that piece of wood. And every kid wants their turn with the axe. And let me show you how this is done. And there needs to be a little instruction, a little caution, They need to be taught about all the dangers and can't just go over there and start swinging away, Oh, it's fine. Let them alone. Yeah, I tightened the head on that axe 3, 4, 5 years ago. It's fine. Nothing could happen to that. You ever watch those programs on TV like the X Games? And here's these 16, 17-year-old kids, and they're on motorcycles, and they're doing loop-de-loos and flips-arounds and, jumping 180 feet and doing all of this stuff. And you're thinking, I want to meet that kid when he's like 60. If he ever makes it to 60, because he's so beat up his body, there was no caution, I just want to do this, never thinking about tomorrow or what goes on, There is a place for caution in life. Verse 10, if the axe is dull and one does not sharpen the edge, then he must use more strength, but wisdom brings success. Man, I have this verse underlined, and I have written under it Mark's brain, and all kinds of stuff. But Abe Lincoln was the one who was quoted as saying, if I have 6 hours to cut down a tree, I'm going to spend the first 3 or 4 sharpening the axe. Just making sure the tools are ready to do what I need them to do. Good working order, you know. You remember the story, the joke, I guess, about the logger, and he goes into the place that sold chainsaws, you know. He goes, I've been logging my whole life, and I guess it's time to upgrade to one of these, you know. And the guy shows him all the features of the chainsaw, and he sells it to him, and the guy goes off. And at the end of the first day, the guy comes back with the chainsaw over his shoulder and sawdust everywhere, and he puts the chainsaw up on the counter, and he goes, I don't understand. He says, I cut down 10 trees a day. Every day of my life today, I could only get 3 with your modern chainsaw. The guy said, oh, you got to be kidding me. He said, let me check this out. And he pulls it and it fires up and he goes, oh, what's that noise? You know? That's the story of a lot of people in life, you know? Wisdom is staying sharp. Think about that spiritually. Wisdom is better than brute strength. I think about that a lot because in our wreck that happened in 2000, you know, I end up with a half a brain. I still have half a brain. I got photos of it. I can prove it. But I end up with a half a brain, and so I have to read harder, study harder, try harder to get the same amount of information in that I used to. But I understand that. It's just going to require more work. So I'm no longer as sharp as I once was. But I'm trying to keep sharp. I'm reading, I'm studying, I'm doing all the shortcuts I know how to do. You know, I've become a tapeworm. I listen to people preaching and teaching and teaching through passages and stuff all the time. How many years have you been a believer? Just think about that. How many times have you gone through the Word of God? Yeah, I talk to guys. I hang out with crazy guys who've read the Bible 150, 200 times cover to cover. You know, and you think about that. That's a lot of time in the Word. How's your daily devotion time? Are you staying sharp there? Because a lot of people say, well, it doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't affect me. Yes, it does. It sharpens those rungs every day. It sharpens those teeth on that chainsaw, you know. Are you keeping sharp spiritually? Or are you failing to sharpen your axe? I find if I spend my time faithfully in the morning sharpening my axe, then I make more of my day through the day. It's easier for me because I'm already read up. I'm already prayed up. I'm already in tune with the Lord. I'm ready to listen to His wisdom, wherever it might come from, whatever direction it might be. I'm already warmed up in the fruit of the Spirit. So my personal skills are better. You know, my spirit is more connected. And now in verses 11 through 15, Solomon has something to say to those who talk too much. Do you know any of those talkers? You know, you accidentally walk up to them, hey, how's it going today? And then they start and you're like, oh no, I've trapped myself. What have I done? I totally forgot about doing this. You know, Solomon knows something about this. You got to remember, and I'm joking here, right? Right, ladies? I'm joking here. Solomon has 700 wives, 300 concubines. You think he knows any talkers? I just, you know, I always make that joke, you know, my wife, she can she can ramp up and she can get 5,000 words a minute just going. She's talking about something that she loves and it's just coming. And then she has gusts to like 15,000 words a minute, you know. Me, I spend most of my words, you know, out busting my knuckles on some old car or something. And then some words came out and, well, that's my words for the day and I'm done, you know. I owe you $10, by the way. Verse 11. A serpent may bite when it is not charmed. The babbler is no different. The person who just talks and says whatever comes to their mind, that person is ultimately going to bite you. Especially if you're no longer charming to them. It's one thing when you kind of got them under control and you're leading the conversation and you're kind of charming them, but man, their mouth will get carried away. It says in verse 12, the words of a wise man's mouth are gracious, but the lips of a fool shall swallow him up. The wise man brings forth grace, but eventually the fool's words will end up devouring himself. The words of his mouth begin with foolishness, and the end of his talk is raving madness. You can see him getting lit up here, right? Ever talk to one of those people that just ramp up? You know, they start off pretty calm, and 3 sentences in, they're starting to get a little hot and feisty, you know? And get a little scary. And then another 3 sentences in, and you're starting to look around. Where can I, how do I get out of here? And where's my exit route? And, you know, you're starting to seek shelter. Get me out of here. You know, somebody come and rescue me. Help, get me out. You know, phone, ring. Something, go on. I've known a few people like that. I have engaged a couple of people like that on social media. I'll say something. And next thing you know, here's this rapid fire, page after page, text after text of stuff just coming at you. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I said, hey, have a nice day. Or, hey, have you looked at this guy? Or, you know, whatever it is. And hours of rambling from some simple little statement. He says in verse 14, a fool so multiplies words. No man knows what is to be. Who can tell him what will be after him? The labor of fools wearies them, and they do not even know how to go to the city. This person goes on and on, even when they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what the future is, but they talk like they do. They don't know what happened in the past, but they talk like they were standing right there, you know? They can't even make it to the city. They don't even have any logic or any reason or any roadmap in their brain of how to get to where they're going. That doesn't stop them at all. They still know everything there is to know about every subject you want to bring up. They are an expert. You know, an expert is just a drip under pressure. You know that, right? There's no practical knowledge in them, but they want you to think that they have all the knowledge. And then in verses 16 through 20, there's some thoughts about foolish leaders again. Got to be careful here. Woe to you, O land, where your king is a child and your princes feast in the morning. Immature leadership, or leaders who want to party instead of work. So they begin to think, well, I got this position. They elected me here. I've got this stuff. I've got this staff. They're taking care of everything. So I'm going to just kick back and enjoy every minute of this. You know, I'm really going to enjoy this. So they're in it for the fun. They're in it for the perks. They're in it for whatever it is they can get out of it. But they're not actually doing what they were hired or elected to do. They're incompetent and they're undisciplined. Luckily, we don't have any of these guys in the United States, so we don't have to worry about this, you know. But it's easy to look around and wonder if anyone ever got elected on the basis of competency. It's easy to wonder that. You just sit back and scratch your head and you go, I look at the top 100 guys and you're just like, who put them in there? Why are they in there? I don't understand this, All kinds of perks, bribes, travel, the easy life, that's why they're in there. It says in verse 17, "Blessed are you, O land, when your king is the son of nobles, and your princes feast at the proper time, for strength is not for drunkenness. Blessed are you when you actually have a leader who was well prepared for the job. They know when to work, they know how to work, and they know when to relax and kick back. They've got it all figured out. They know they need their strength, so they eat for strength, not just a party, A country is blessed when their leaders have that kind of character. They're not in it for themselves. They're in it for others. They're in it to fix problems. They're in it to solve the issues, They're disciplined, they have character, and they surround themselves with people who are disciplined and have character. Blessed is that land. I want to live there. Because of laziness, the building decays, and through idleness of hands, the house leaks. Speaking about lazy and incompetent leaders again, but this is very personal. It also comes right down to the homeowner, to the person living in the house. A roof or a building or a government or a life will ultimately collapse if not maintained rightly. You cannot not neglect the basic things of life as you move through this life. They must be looked after. It's also true of a church. We have a leadership group here at the church, and we watch out. We're like looking at this and looking at that, and what about the roof, and what do we do about this, and what about bathrooms, and you got to figure all of these things out. You're taking a look at everything, and then you're checking to make sure it isn't leaking, it isn't broken, it's functioning correctly, all of those things. You have to pay attention to the state of things. What do we do? How do we correct this? And it only happens as we seek to maintain the spiritual life of the ministry, Our ultimate goal isn't fixing up the church. Our ultimate goal isn't mowing the lawn. Our ultimate goal isn't painting the, whatever. It still needs to be done. But the ultimate goal is beyond that. But you still have to take the day-to-day things and get them done. It says in verse 19, "A feast is made for laughter, and wine makes merry, but money answers everything." Again, in context, these are speaking of the incompetent leadership. They're immature. They're in it for what they can get out of it. Not to advance the nation, not to help the people, not to solve the issues, just give me, give me, give me. So when things start to go wrong, they will never accept the blame. You ever notice that? It's not because we're immature. It's not because we've wasted the last year and done nothing in Congress. Sorry. Did that come out of me? Sorry, Congress. Their ultimate conclusion is this. It's because we don't have enough money. So let's raise taxes. Let's bring in more people to fix the issues, the very things we were supposed to be taking care of. Yeah, let's let them take care of that. Solomon said this 3,000 years ago. You think anything news under the sun? No, most of the things Solomon mentions here, it's like he's living in America right now, He says in verse 20, "Do not curse the king, even in your thought. Do not curse the rich, even in your bedroom. For a bird of the air may carry your voice, and the bird in flight may tell the matter." Don't curse the king. Don't curse the rich guy, the one who's in charge. Not even in private. Not even think it in your mind. Don't bring it in here. And don't even do it in your bedroom. The most private room in your house. Don't be doing it there. When the nation gets to the place where they have incompetent leadership and all they want to do is party and get what they can get out of it, then the common people get unhappy. And when the common people get unhappy, they want to tell somebody about it. You ever notice that? They want to say something. And Solomon says, be very, very careful when you do that, because what you say in private may very well, some little birdie will hear it. And next thing you know, the guy you're talking about comes to you. What's the idea? You talking about me like this? Congress is going to send me some stuff after this, And those things get overheard. Somehow it gets taken to that leadership. And those are the very people that can make life hard on you. It's your boss, it's your principal, it's your teacher, it's whoever it is that you're working with, So take some thought for prudence, for self-preservation. Yeah, I can think that all I want. I shouldn't put that out there. Because some little birdie, I don't know where these little birdies come from. They're everywhere in life, Things said in confidence and in secret. Next thing you know, they're common knowledge. Everybody knows about them. Our nation has no need of little birdies. Have you noticed? We got the NSA, They can listen and watch and see everything you've ever done digitally in your life. Record every word. Just like every habit tracked. Every movie you ever downloaded or watched or streamed, every conversation on Facebook or texting or whatever, they have access to all of that stuff. And then we invite in more. We do Facebook, So let me tell you what I think on Facebook, And then we have Alexa over in the corner. Hey, Alexa, would you play this movie? What's she doing when she's not listening for you to say, hey, Alexa? She's still listening, apparently. Because she heard you say that. I got all kinds of spies in my house today, Is there any secret place in the world? I don't know. Chapter 12. He begins off with the value of diligence. Chapter 11. Fine, be that way, Karma. Just call me out like that. I have this issue. You can't just go with it. It says, cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days. Give a serving to 7 and also to 8, for you do not know what evil will be on the earth. In the investment world, they talk about diversifying your portfolio. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, especially in uncertain times. You want to have that stuff spread out. Solomon says, here's what you need to do in uncertain times. You need to have been investing in people. Take 7, 8 people and invest in their lives. Be generous with them. So when difficulty comes, usually there's a few people who escape difficulty, and maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of those 7 or 8 people will escape difficulty and be able to help you get through those difficult times. Invest in personal relationships. Isn't it interesting? Build others up. Help them. Bless them. That way, when you need a blessing, you got 7 or 8 people out there that love you, that care for you, that would be involved in your life. He says in verse 3, if the clouds are full of rain, they empty themselves upon the earth. And if a tree falls to the south or to the north, in the place where the tree falls, there it shall lie. Wow, sounds like a 60s rock lyric, doesn't it? He who observes the wind will not sow, and he who regards the clouds will not reap. Hard work in the moment, at the time. So much of life is outside of our control. When it rains, when it doesn't rain. We got no choice over that. Is the wind going to blow? Well, we live in Idaho, so the answer to that is yes, Now it's just, is it going to be 25 all day? Is it going to be 70 for an hour? What's it going to be? I don't know. But yes, it's going to blow. And if you're a fair weather person, and I tend to be one of those people, I don't want to get wet. I don't want to get cold. I don't want to get too hot, So many times I'll look outside. I'm like, I need to go do this. And then I'll look outside and I go, I don't really want to go do it because it's doing this. Or I see that thing coming from the southwest and it's going to be here in 20 minutes. By the time I get ready and get out there, then that thing's going to be on us. And, and I don't get a thing done. If you only focus on what you have control over, you will never get done. If you only focus on what you don't have control over, you will only get done. You will never get done what you do have control over. Wow. I should have read that word for word. It would have been better. So he says, work hard. Go ahead and sow the seed. Go ahead and plant. Go ahead and do the things that you need to do. Don't wait for all the stars to align. Don't wait for the perfect time. So I grew up in Idaho. The perfect time, there's like 20 minutes on July 4th that is the perfect day. Other than that, get over it, In spiritual things, we call this the paralysis of analysis. It's people not wanting to step out or hesitant to do this because, well, what if? And they what if it to death, and they never leave the office. They never go out and do. They never do this thing. So we don't have control over who's going to listen to the gospel. We don't have control over what seeds are going to be sown and what seeds aren't going to be sown. That's why when the sower goes out to sow, he just throws seed everywhere, right? So he can't control it. It's out of his hands. It's in a higher place. So just go out and sow the seed. Just go out and do what God's calling you to do. Just go out and perform today. Tomorrow, well, it's rainy, nobody was out. Huh? Good for you, you were out there. Well, it was sunny and hot and nobody was out. Well, good for you, you were out there. Just do your best and commit the rest. That's the Christian ethic, if you will. So verse 5, he says, as you do not know what is the way of the wind, or how a bone grows in the womb of her who is with child, so you do not know the works of God who makes everything. You don't understand where the wind comes from, but it shouldn't stop you from enjoying the day. You don't know all the ways of God. You don't understand how certain cells decide to be bone, and certain cells decide to be brain matter, and certain cells decide to be a bicep muscle. We got no idea, but it shouldn't stop you from having a baby. You don't need to know and understand every part of everything to move forward. You simply need to just do it. Move forward. Do your part. That's some great wisdom, by the way. Verse 6, in the morning sow your seed, and in the evening do not withhold your hand. So keep sowing, doing whatever you're doing. For you do not know which will prosper, either this or that, or whether both alike will be good. This idea is, don't wait for perfection. The perfect moment, once in a blue moon, Most of the time, you just have to push through. You just need to get the job done. Whether you're farming and you're constantly watching the skies, if you're doing that, you're not watching the ground, you're not putting seed in there, you're not sowing, doing that. Whether it's in business or in life, most times are not the perfect time to do what you're trying to do. Just got to do it anyway. It's totally acceptable that time, whether it's raining or snowing or whatever. It's totally acceptable to be doing what you're doing. Just get out there and do it. Fill the day with work and effort. Paul told Timothy, preach the word, be ready in season and out of season. When you think it's the perfect time to share the gospel with somebody, share the gospel with them. When you think, oh man, this probably isn't a good time, share the gospel with them. That's what he's saying. Be ready in season, out of season. When it seems like the right time, when it doesn't seem like the right time, doesn't matter. You put it out there. You do the work. And it will work out just fine. And now he begins to focus on youth and the struggles concerning youth. Most of us have walked through that. You know, we've all heard the line, you know, youth is a wonderful thing. It's too bad it's wasted on the young. You know, that's Solomon's take also. You look at this, it says, truly the light is sweet, and it is pleasant for the eyes to behold the sun. And the idea of light here is youth, the days of youth. Everything was shiny and glowy and fun and energetic. And, you know, to behold the sun is this idea of being alive. He says in verse 8, but if a man lives many years and rejoices in them all, yet let him remember the days of darkness, for they will be many. All that is coming is vanity. Let him remember the dark days. Let him remember, you know, the deaths and the trials and the pains and the hardship and the failing grade and the whatever it was, the spanking he got from dad. He says in verse 9, rejoice, O young man, in your youth, and let your heart cheer you in the days of your youth. Walk in the ways of your heart and in the sight of your eyes, but know that for all these God will bring you into judgment. His take is, all these young people, man, they should be enjoying life, but not enjoying sin. There should be a division there. Understand this. How we spend our life, we will be judged for those choices. So be wise in your youth. Oh, go out and have fun, but careful with the sin thing. It says in verse 10, therefore remove sorrow from your heart and put away evil from your flesh, for childhood and youth are vanity. Remove sorrow. And the word for sorrow here is worry or fretting, you know. He says, think positively. Get out there and be a kid, you know, because childhood and youth are vanity. And the idea behind vanity, they're fleeting. They're quickly gone. And before you know it, you're going to wake up and you're going to be 30 and you're going to go, how did I get to be 30? What's going on? I'm like almost an adult now. What? You know, I know it caught RJ by surprise when he did that. Solomon's take on this is he says, enjoy life. Great wisdom here. So many waiting for this or that to happen. You know, once I get this job and get to this position, then I'm going to be set. Or once I just need to get to this place. That isn't what he's saying. He says, enjoy life now, today. It's all you have is today, by the way. Don't let a virus keep you from enjoying life. Don't let your portfolio, because it's not to this level yet, keep you from enjoying life. Don't let your age, don't let whatever it is keep you from enjoying life. We need to learn to joy in the God of our salvation every day. And not just once in that day, but all day. God has given us all things to enjoy. And I love that line. He's given us kids. Enjoy them. He's given you your car. Enjoy it. He's given you your house. Enjoy. He's given you your wife, your husband, your houses, your hobbies. He's given you all of these things. What's his hope for you? That you would enjoy it. But the kicker is, don't bring sin into it. Because sin ruins life. You know, we all know the passage when sin comes in and it corrupts, and then when sin is full grown, it brings death. Sin kills, you know. It robs us of joy. I think back in my youth and I think about those, well, boys will be boys times. And those are the worst memories in my brain. Absolute worst memories in my brain. I wished I would have never gone there. So learn to enjoy life, you youths, you know. but learn to use it for the Lord and not waste it in sin. All these stupid choices. Make good choices. You know, I think it's amazing. You know, I never had this opportunity, but you know, there are foreign missions all over the place. You can go on a short-term foreign mission. You can go for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks to Mexico or to Chile or to, you know, all of these places and put in a short-term mission, and it will change your life. Go serve, give, become an usher, become somebody in the church. Do something, you know, invest your gifts. Figure out what they are and get busy about it. Pray about your calling. Use that time to change the world. Because one of these days you're going to grow up and all of that stuff, I wished I'd have done that, but now it's too late. Now I'm stuck with the old ball and chain and 27 little balls with her and, you know, and can't do any of that stuff. And for you parents and grandparents, you know, some of your kids and grandkids are going to call and go, Grandma, I got this chance. I get to go on a mission to Africa. And you're going to go, Africa? Oh, no, don't go there. That's scary. They got plagues and they got... Yeah. Hey, Christian parents, back off. Let them have their calling. Let them get their feet wet. Let them step out there and seize the day. Because maybe they never will again. Maybe that was it. So chapter 12, he begins to speak of using your youth to lay the groundwork for your life. He says in verse 1, remember how your Creator, in the day of your youth, before the difficult days came and the years drew near, when you say, I have no pleasure in them. Enjoy yourself, but don't forget about God. Develop a good relationship with the Lord while you're young, before difficult days come. Because difficult days, and he's going to describe difficult days, and difficult days are when you get older. I love the definitions that are given in this chapter because, man, I'm not quite to this description that we're going to read yet, but I can see them coming. I can see this description on its way into me, and I don't like it. You know, the single greatest preparation any person can do to get ready for old age is a relationship with the Lord. And it's great to have a long relationship with the Lord. So you've seen him work with you through hill and dale, all through life, you know, because you don't just need physical strength in your old age. You need spiritual strength in your old age. You know, age is not, getting old is not for wimps. I've heard that before. You need to learn to love God, to walk closely with him, have years of fellowship and communion. Not all get the chance to do that. Some of us got saved older in life and, you know, we missed out on some of that. But some of the youths I know, you know, they've been walking with the Lord their whole lives. Man, now's the time. Dive in deep because it's going to pay dividends. And now he's going to give this description in verses 2 through 5 of the physical decline of old age. He says in verse 2, while the sun and the light, the moon and the stars are not darkened. Walk with God and prepare while you have some good eyesight. While you can still read the Bible. It's funny. So there's a visitor here the other day and I picked up a Bible and handed it to him. I opened it to the passage. I almost couldn't read the passage. The words were so small on that. And I'm like, it's a good thing I have the big blind letter Bible, you know, here in front of me so I can actually see it. It's almost Braille. I probably should get one of those. Anyway, because one day those stars, they start to grow a little dim. You know, have you noticed the directions, the instructions on things nowadays? You'll buy something, there is no way. You know, I got me some of these reading glasses now, you know, and put them in, get them babies up here, you know, and I can almost read if there's enough light. So now I'm running through the house looking for a place where the light is coming. He says in verse 3, the finish of verse 2, and the clouds do not return after the rain. In the day when the keepers of the house tremble, and the strong men bow down, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those who look through the windows grow dim. I love this. The keepers of the house. Your hands, your legs, Are you a trembler yet? I was really never much of a trembler, and then we got in this little car wreck, and on a bad day, I can't put peas in a spoon and get them to my mouth. It doesn't happen. Peas are spilling out all over the place, and the more I think about it, the worse it gets. If I could just not think about it and just shove them in, however that looks. When you were younger, man, you could lift weights, you could ride your bike for 3 miles, you could go out and walk forever, you could chop down trees and plow fields and help mom do this and do that. But one day, all of that stuff begins to catch up with you, and you kind of notice, well, that's an interesting feeling. Why am I feeling that way? After pulling weeds for 2 days or whatever it is. I can't open a jar anymore. It's like, what? Honey, my wife had to buy me one of them jar openers that slide it on there, and then I still need a vise to hold the jar part so I could twist it. I can't win. And the strong men bow down. Your shoulders start to slump. Your back starts to bend over. Your neck leans over, All these strong men begin to bow down. And the grinders, your teeth. Don't you love the pictures of this? Your teeth begin to get fewer and fewer. Oh, we live in great ages, don't we? They go in and put steel teeth in, But, back in this day, can you imagine? Really no dentists. They just had, a pair of pliers to pull your teeth out and stuff. I know some people, man, they love a good steak, but they can't chew it anymore, And how dim the windows become. We have cataracts and glaucoma and macular degeneration, and there was no surgery for those things back then. It was, man, it's on. It just grows dim and narrow and dim. And then verse 4, when the doors are shut in the streets and the sound of grinding is low, when one rises at the sound of a bird and all the daughters of music are brought low, the loss of hearing, all those little things you used to hear so readily and now you don't pick them up as well. Ever walk through a nursing home? You go in there in the middle of the day and there's 15 TVs on 15 different channels and they're all at the loudest volume, You walk by every room and it's screaming at you. Why is that? Because they can't hear what's being said. They want some kind of noise to get in and it just ain't coming in. And when the littlest things wake you up, don't you love that, right? I mean, you're laying there at 4:30 and that bird's right outside the window. Tweet, 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 and you're like, where's my shotgun? And then once you're awake, it's over. You're awake now. There ain't no going back anymore, I have always been this amazing sleeper. I could go in, my head hits the pillow, and the next thing I know, the sun's up and it's morning and I've been gone the whole time. I don't even remember falling asleep. I don't remember anything. I remember almost laying down. That's what I remember. And now, I'll set my alarm on my phone. And half the time the phone doesn't even have to go off. I just wake up. Here we go. Off we go. Lately, I've been awakening even before the sun gets up. There's something wrong with that. I don't know. I'll just wake up. Grab my phone, look at the time. It's like, why am I awake at 4:30? Lord, nobody should be awake at 4:30. I used to work at this time, but not if I'm not working. I shouldn't be awake. You remember being a kid You could sleep right through the alarm. Here's that big old Big Ben ding, 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 ding thing going off, and you don't hear a thing. You're just out. Oh, how I miss those days. And then the hearing starts to go incrementally. You know, you play one of your old bands, you know, put on some Journey or some, 38 Special or whatever it is, you know. You plug that thing in, and it just doesn't sound the way it used to sound because you don't hear those highs and you don't hear that. You're missing half of the stuff. Here's the thing, those guys, they're still singing out there somewhere, And they're still on tour. But, they can't hit those notes either. They got all those backup singers now on stage with them. They're the ones hitting the high notes, and they're the ones carrying the tune. And the other guys are just out there, hold me up, because I got to make more money here, It doesn't matter, because nobody in the audience can hear them anyway, because, they're all old anyway. But he says in verse 5, also they are afraid of height, and of terrors in the way. When the almond tree blossoms, the grasshopper is a burden, and desire fails. For man goes to his eternal home, and the mourners go about the streets. Suddenly, the idea of changing a light bulb terrifies you. Right? I mean, it's just right there. It's just 8 foot high in the hallway. But I got to get at that little 2-foot step stool thing. And then I got to get up on that 2-foot step stool thing without falling down, without falling off. Because it's bad enough when you fall from just the standing position, but then it's twice as bad when you fall from 2 feet higher than that, and you get the wobblies and you're scared. And the terrors of the way. Isn't it funny? We used to have all the confidence in the world. Oh, we're going there. You just jump out in the car, take off, head out. No plans, nothing. But now, oh man, this road's really busy. It's really heavy in traffic. Or you get on the freeway and here's these 80-mile-an-hour trucks and cars wheeling by, and you get a little nervous. Or people become scary to you, They're pushing and they're shoving, and, I'm not the guy I used to be. And the older you get, the more vulnerable you become, and you become very much aware of that. And then the almond tree blossoms. What do you think that is, guys? Isn't it funny that the almond tree blossoms in color first? They come on pink. Got color in the almond tree. And then it turns white. And then the last stage, we fight the turning white, so we try to dye it pink again. And over and over and over. And then the last stage of that is the almond blossoms fall off. And you're starting to leave your almond blossoms on your pillow every morning, And the grasshopper is a burden. The littlest things become big things. Things you never thought you'd have to worry about, Who worries about all those little things? I just get them done. I just do them. But now little things are the difficult things. You got to get down and get into this place and fix that little drip or do this thing over here, and they become they're the obnoxious thing. And there's a million of them. They're everywhere. And then desire fails, and that's sexual appetite, sexual desire fails. And then he basically says, and then you die. Man, don't lose your sense of humor going through this stage, because you'll die early, You want to be able to laugh at all of these stupid things that are happening to you. So he says in verse 6, remember your Creator before the silver cord is loosed, or the golden bowl is broken, or the pitcher shattered at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the well. In a rich person's house, they would have an oil lamp in the middle of the room, and it's held up by a string that would come over here, and they were able to lower it down, fill it with oil, light it up, pull it back up into the room, tie it off, and he says, if it fell or if it broke, your light went out. Oh, death can happen at any time, right? It's the idea of that, it's going to come to the rich and the poor alike. So if the cord is loosed, it's going to break the bowl, Or if you go to the well and you've brought your pitcher with you and you tie your pitcher onto the thing and you lower your pitcher down into the well, you scoop up water and you start bringing it up and it bangs against the side and it breaks, life has run out of it. It happens in moments. And then the picture of the mechanism, if the wheel is broken. So you go and you get this crank on the handle and you crank the thing down into the well and you pull up life and you fill this up and then you put it back down. And he could be talking about your circulatory system. He could be talking about your heart giving out. Interesting poetic picture he's giving here. And he says in verse 7, then the dust will return to the earth as it was, and the spirit will return to God who gave it. This body is going to return to dust. Our spirit is going to return to God. So remember, you youths, get a relationship with God. You're going to need it when things get difficult, when times get tough in your old age, because that relationship is the single greatest preparation for death you can ever have. And then in verse 8, vanity of vanities, says the preacher, all is vanities. He's come full circle because this is how he started the book. Ecclesiastes 1:2 says, vanity of vanities, says the preacher, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Life is meaningless and frustration in this life under the sun. It's so empty. Verse 9, and moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge. Yes, he pondered and sought out and set in order many proverbs. The preacher sought to find acceptable words, and what was written was upright, words of truth. He's speaking about himself, and he says, here's my reputation. I have a reputation of being a man of wisdom. So he's speaking about his authority, about how he wrote this book, why he wrote this book. He says in verse 11, the words of the wise are like goads, and the words of scholars are like well-driven nails given by one shepherd. The words of the wise are like sharp, pointy sticks that goad you through life. They're kind of directing you, guiding you, pushing you into things. The words of the scholars, or those knowledgeable ones, are like well-driven nails. There's nothing like the nail, put just in the right place to hold something together. Given by one shepherd. If you will, you should notice the word shepherd there is uppercase. It's the shepherd. It's God who is the shepherd. Verse 12, and further, my son, be admonished by these. Of making many books there is no end, and much study is wearisome to the flesh. He's trying to make this point. He wants us to come away from this book knowing that all truth and all wisdom is from God. And this book was written on purpose. God sent him on this mission to learn all of these things. But his warning to us is this: don't let the endless flow of man's writings, all of these books out there about what life is like and what life should be like and what, how to make the most of life and all of that, don't let that rob you or distract you from God's word that is life. He's the shepherd. He's the one, the designer and the builder, and we should go to his manual to figure that out. And then in verse 13 and 14, we've been waiting the whole book for this. Let us now hear the conclusion of the whole matter. We've gone through 12 chapters just to hear this. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is man's all. For God will bring every work into judgment, including every secret thing, whether good or evil. Life is meaningful and full of purpose if it's a life in a relationship with God, but not just a relationship with God, an obedient relationship with God. Everything else is empty and frustrating at best. So this kind of life isn't found in just the knowledge that there is a God. Oh, somewhere out there, I believe in a God. I don't know who he is, I don't know where he is, but I believe in a God. You'll never find this life there, this excellent life. It isn't found in a God, even the God who has forgiven your sins. It isn't even just found in having a Savior. You've got to take it that one step further, because you want to have an obedient life with that Savior. We want to know there's a God. We want to be saved by that God. We want to get to know that God on a personal relationship basis. We want to walk with that God in obedience. That is the rich life. That is the not vain life. You know, John 14, Jesus would say, if anyone loves me, he will keep my word. And my Father will love him, and we will come to him and make our home with him. Oh, I love you, Lord. Jesus says, this is how I know that you love me, if you do what I command, period. It's so simple. God intended life to be simple. God intended us to live a blessed life down here, a life that we could enjoy and have fun with. So when you're young, dive in, get deep, get that relationship. Because when you're old, like most of us, you know, you're going through those stages where, man, the blossoms are falling off the tree, and, you know, the strong men are bowing down, and, you know, all of these things, the grinders, you know, they're having trouble. And you're going through all of this stuff. And yet, I have a relationship. And I have what I consider to be an obedient relationship with God. He talks to me, I change. I turn back, he changes. It's not that I don't need to be redirected all the time, because I do, because I wander. I leak, as they say, you know. He fills me with his Spirit. He fills me with power. He fills me with his knowledge. And a week later, I can't remember what I was doing last week. It's like, Lord, it's like I'm empty. What's going on? Well, you leaked all out. Let me give you a refill. Thank God there's fresh refills all the time, right? From our God, who's the God of another chance. So, Lord, Father, we thank you for this book. Lord, great study through Ecclesiastes. And, Lord, we ask you, Lord, to just let us enjoy life. Let us understand that we are so loved, that you came and died for us, that we might get to know you, get to experience you, and even get invited to your house when this whole shooting match is over down here. So, Lord, love us, walk us through this life. Lord, watch over us and draw us to yourself. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.